So good afternoon. I'm Scott Higgins, an Army veteran and the co-founder and chairman of WeSalute. And as you know, we were previously known as Veterans Advantage. We've rebranded to WeSalute. We have the same mission to honor those who serve and their family members, but we also have a new uniform, as we like to say, honoring heroes in our society like first responders and nurses, teachers, and several others. So on behalf of all of us at WeSalute, I want to welcome you to our fifth streaming Heroes Meet Heroes, where U.S. veteran heroes meet our U.S. Olympic heroes. And I want to thank you all for joining us. November is National Veterans and Military Families Month. And with Veterans Day just 4 days away, we want to give a big shout out to all the veterans, their family members, and caregivers who are in our audience today, and thank them for their service to the country and really for preserving the freedoms that we enjoy. We also want to give a shout out to the Marines in the audience. On November 9th, we celebrate the 249th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. So today is a very special day and a time for commemoration and celebration. Heroes Meet Heroes was created 12 years ago by Lynn Higgins, our CEO now at WeSalute, who doubles as my beautiful and brilliant spouse. So thank you very much, Lynn. I also want to thank the talented and dedicated members of our WeSalute team who've worked so hard on this live streaming event. A big thanks goes out to Roy Asfar, Rebecca Martin, Marissa Oster, Angela McFarland, Shanice Innes, Latia Bird, and Jeremy Woolsey for organizing this event. So the concept behind Heroes Meet Heroes is for our WeSalute members to meet these outstanding American athletes, and likewise for Olympians to honor our veteran heroes. The athletes and veterans who are with us today will share their stories with you and respond to your questions. They share a lot in common: great determination and success, as well as service to our country. Now, this year's Heroes Meet Heroes is dedicated to Captain Paul Bucha, a Medal of Honor recipient, a longtime member of the board of WeSalute, and a close personal friend. Bud died this year at the age of 80. He was a legend at West Point and at the 101st Airborne, and he will be greatly missed. For the second part of our event today, we're going to open the floor to a Q&A session, and everyone attending today is muted. So we can't hear you, but if you press the icon at the bottom of the screen to submit your questions, I'll present them to our panelists, and you can begin asking questions at really at any point. And after the Q&A, we have some great giveaways, 120,000 Wyndham points, good for a week's stay in one of their great resorts, a free week of an Avis budget rental car. And for the first 25 attending this event will receive a free year of WeSalute or 1 year added to your membership. This is a $120 value, and that is sponsored by Avis Budget. And then another 60 people will receive 2 free tickets each to an IMAX movie of your choice. So anyway, now to our panelists. I'm going to tell you something about each one of them and their amazing accomplishments. And then I'll ask each one to tell us something more about their own stories, what they're doing now, what's important to them. So on to the panelists. Donna de Varona is a true pioneer in the world of sports. Many of you know her. She's a swimming prodigy who, at just 13 years old, became the youngest U.S. Olympian. She went on to shatter 20 world records in swimming and captured 2 gold medals in the Tokyo Olympics. But beyond her athletic triumphs, she's used her platform to support gender equality in sports, becoming a respected journalist, a broadcaster, an advocate. Her committed efforts paved the way for future generations of female athletes, including my daughter, earning her numerous accolades, including the IOC Olympic Order, which is the highest award, the Olympic Committee awards, and an Emmy Award. Donna's legacy extends far beyond the pool. She's a shining example of the power of diligence, persistence, and using one's voice to inspire positive change. She's been a member of WeSalute's Advisory Board since its inception. And I'd just like to add that her father served with the Red Cross with distinction in World War II, and her spouse, John Pinto, my close friend, is a U.S. Army veteran. Donna, your accomplishments are incredible, and we want to thank you for your outstanding support of WeSalute over the years and our members. Now, we'd love for you to share a little bit more about your story.
Well, thanks. I say this every time, but I don't think the athletes on this call, with the exception of Phil Shinnick, who served in the military, feel that we're the heroes. We honor the heroes that go to war and protect our freedoms. In 1969, I did go to Vietnam with the USO. And so I saw firsthand the risks and the struggles that our citizens face in facing enemies and challenges. Right now, I'm serving my second term on the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. And there are many veterans that compete for the United States. We have one great veteran I serve with, Brad Snyder, who lost his eyesight in Afghanistan. And he is an amazing individual that shows resilience. Whenever we have debates about anything, he listens and he always comes up with the best comments. And he always talks about how sport paved the way for him to bounce back after his injuries. I'm also serve on a commission of the International Olympic Committee. We're really focused on the entourage around athletes, on their mental health. We do that with the USOPC as well. And it's my time to give back. I basically was retired against my will in network television, but that opened the door for me to do many other things. And I'm really honored to join the panel and to be able to pay tribute to all of those who serve our country in the military.
Oh, thank you, Donna. Very well said. Dr. David Carruth is a former Pennsylvania Army National Guardsman, and he epitomizes the spirit of service. Though medically discharged, his enthusiasm for his fellow veterans and first responders led him to Verizon, where he spearheaded impactful marketing initiatives, from crafting national campaigns to developing partnerships with organizations like the Wounded Warrior Project. David champions those who serve. His persistent commitment earned him the prestigious Credo Award, which was Verizon's highest honor, a testament to his profound impact in honoring and supporting the military community. David is a member of the WeSalute Board of Advisors and was recently elected to be the president of Valor, which is Verizon's Veteran Employee Resource Group. Congratulations, David, on your election to president of Valor. And thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, thank you, Scott, and thank you to the greater WeSalute team. What you guys do for the military community and the veteran community is commendable. It's heartwarming to know there are great veteran-focused companies like yours, like WeSalute, that's out there doing wonderful things, especially here with today's event. So everyone out there, as Scott shared, I work for Verizon. I've been here for almost 2 decades, and as a former Pennsylvania Army National Guardsman, I get to lead our military ERG, which is called Valor. And for those that aren't familiar with ERG acronym, it stands for Employee Resource Group. So I get to help lead initiatives for volunteer events and community engagement and any type of marketing partnerships that my company Verizon does, and supporting the thousands of veterans and military members that work for us and military spouses. So I'm glad to be here to chat today with you all and look forward to the questions to come.
That's great. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Bonnie Carroll, my friend, is a beacon of resilience and compassion. She has transformed the unimaginable loss into a lifetime and a lifeline for countless others. Inspired by the tragic death of her husband, Brigadier General Tom Carroll, she founded the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, which is known as TAPS, T-A-P-S, a sanctuary for those grieving the loss of military loved ones. Her unwavering dedication to supporting bereaved families, coupled with a distinguished career in government and the Air Force Reserve, has cemented her legacy as a true defender of commitment and healing. Bonnie really incarnates the essence of empathy and strength, demonstrating that even in the face of profound sorrow, the human spirit can rise to create enduring hope for others. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us on this special day, and thank you for your continued service. What would you like to share with us today about your story?
Oh, Scott, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you, and thank you for everything you have done for the veterans community over the past decades. When my husband and 7 other soldiers were killed in an Army plane crash back in the early 90s, there was no support organization in America for the families of our fallen heroes, a place where families could come together to find resources, comfort, and support, but most importantly, to find community, to honor their loved ones in a safe and meaningful way, and to build a way forward. So TAPS is now in our 30th year, and I'm so proud of the work that we've been able to do, and so grateful that we have this partnership with military casualty so that whenever and wherever a service member is lost, TAPS is there.
Thank you, Bonnie. Very well said. Sally Roberts is a force of nature.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Embodying the heart of a warrior, both on and off the mat. From Olympic level wrestler and decorated Army veteran to passionate proponent for women in sports, she exemplifies fortitude and determination. Through Wrestle Like a Girl, her groundbreaking organization, Sally uplifts girls and women to discover their strength and leadership potential through the transformative power of wrestling. I agree with that completely. Her vision extends beyond the sport itself, aiming to foster a world where every girl is afforded the opportunity to strive for greatness and shatter limitations. Sally's steadfast devotion to social change, coupled with her impressive athletic and military achievements, make her an inspiring figure and a true leader for equality. Sally, thanks so much for joining us today. You're an Olympic level wrestler and an Army veteran. What would you like to share with us about your vision for equality and where we are today?
Thank you, Scott, and thank you to everyone at the WeSalute team for inviting me to join this call and to support my fellow brothers and sisters in arms. I really have two resumes. I have one resume that highlights being a two-time world bronze medalist, a combat veteran in special operations that has earned many awards and accolades. I founded an organization. We are the leading global advocacy organization for girls and women in wrestling. And then I have another resume that shows that I've had over 7 surgeries, 3 concussions, a TBI, PTSD, and I really had to endure tremendous mental hurdles. And what I'm reaffirmed of time and time again is that the hurdles are never meant to keep us out. They're meant to prove and reaffirm how badly we want something. And as I was building Wrestle Like a Girl and helping girls and women understand how they can have agency over their bodies, I was also learning that same lesson from within myself and those messages that I send forward to my fellow brothers and sisters as they come out of their own challenges and their own journeys. It's to show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel. The secret to success is that we can never quit and we have to always believe that we're worthy.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you very much. Very well said, Sally. Thank you. Dr. Phil Shinnick. Dr. Phil is an Olympic success and personifies the resolute power of human perseverance. He's driven by an inner fire. He defied the odds, training in combat boots before dawn while simultaneously navigating the rigors of officer training school, ultimately securing his place on the '64 U.S. Olympic team. His relentless pursuit of excellence culminated in a world record long jump, a feat that, though unjustly delayed for 58 years, finally cemented his place in athletic history as the world record holder in the long jump. His story is an inspiration, proving that with tireless determination and an unyielding courage, even the most elusive dreams can be realized. Phil, like Sally, you are both a veteran and an Olympian, and I may add, a healer in your medical practice in New York City. What would you like to share with our audience today?
Well, I think that Prometheus, the great Greek who was tied to a rock and the buzzards went after his liver, and he said that you can have thunder and lightning, but I will not budge from resistance. And so I think that Prometheus and the great Greeks in the Olympics were the things that I really look forward to. I don't know whether I have much to say, except that I served in Air Force Systems Command and Space and Missile Systems Organization. I was a captain for, essentially was in the military for 8 years from training, and also was on 2 Olympic teams. And I'm a doctor, and I've seen 50,000 patients. And I just want to say this, is that people who have pain, it occupies energy in their brain and it makes it hard to do other things. So when you have pain, you have to move, you have to work on your life and distract yourself from the pain and go beyond it and not let it take you down.
Thank you, Phil. Very well said. Brendan Aronson is a Naval Academy graduate and former Marine Corps infantry officer with deployments to Asia and Iraq. He demonstrates a deep commitment to duty beyond the battlefield. After transitioning to civilian life, he leveraged his leadership experience and Wharton MBA to become a successful entrepreneur and spokesperson for veterans. As co-founder and CEO of the Military Veteran, Brendan empowers his fellow service members, guiding them towards higher education and fulfilling careers. He firmly believes in the power of personal connection and networking, fostering a community where veterans can thrive. Brendan, you have an exceptional background of achievement in the military and civilian life. What would you like to share with us about your journey?
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate the intro. I'm like so impressed with this panel. I mean, it's just incredibly humbling. It's an honor to be able to do this next to just such terrific Americans. Thank you all for what you're doing and for your service to our veteran community. For any of the veterans that are listening, happy early Veterans Day. Happy Marine Corps birthday to my fellow Devil Dogs that are in the audience. It's coming up on the 10th. Thank you each for your service. I know it's always really awkward to hear, but genuinely mean it when I say it. I'm not a healthcare professional, have been through the ringer on the healthcare front, both physically and mentally. Transitioning out of the uniform was a tremendous challenge, especially immediately after I got back from a combat deployment to Iraq. Had some back pain that I was dealing with for a year that was incredibly unpleasant. So happy to share a bit of just my own personal journey and things that hopefully will be broadly applicable. On the professional side, to your point, I've been active as a startup leader, have started a company that's grown. We've got about 10 employees. We do headhunting for military veterans, have worked at early stage funds, so venture capital funds that deploy capital to seed and pre-seed companies that are founded by military veterans, industry agnostic, and then in the process of raising my own fund, that's a national security focused fund of funds. So stoked to be here, excited to share some things that I've learned along the way, and excited to learn from the rest of the panelists.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Brendan. Now we'd like to start the Q&A portion. As a reminder, if you press the icon at the bottom of your screen, you can submit a question and we'll see them and then I'll present them to the panelists. Just make sure before that you submit your question that if your question is specifically addressed to one of them, then you should include the name, their name in your question. Okay. I am waiting for the questions. And I do not see them.
They're on my screen. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why they're on my screen.
You want me to read one?
Yeah, read one.
This is from Ted Janicki, Janicki. Excuse me if I said your name wrong. Olympic prep competition takes much mental and physical toughness. For the panel, what lessons learned would you share with military members that need to hone similar skills?
Well, I think that's more of a statement rather than a question.
I think the question is more or less like how to develop tenacity, how to stick to a routine through adversity.
Yeah, who would like to do that? Who'd like to address that?
This is Sally. I'll jump in on that one.
Okay, good.
When I was an athlete, so I joined, I was an athlete, and then in 2008, I did not make the Olympic team, which really broke my heart and is what drove me to joining the military, going special operations. So when it came to understanding that segment of my life during my elite athletics, I dove head first, and I actually got my master's in sports and performance psychology, so I could understand the mind and how the mind drives the body. And there's two things that became really clear to me. One is that wherever my feet were at is where I needed my head to be. So if I was in the wrestling room, that was what I was focusing on. If I was in class and I was studying and getting my undergraduate or my graduate degree, that was where my focus needed to be. And I had to honor the journey and make sure that as I was taking on different roles and I wore different hats, I had the appropriate mindset and the appropriate attack for each of those roles that I was carrying. And the second, and this is just as important, and I know that there's people out there, service members that have challenges with pain and transition and different journeys in their life. And that's the importance of visualization, imagery, and being able to see yourself on the other side as a whole, complete human being, being able to see yourself truly victorious as an Olympic gold medalist, being able to see yourself truly victorious in whatever realm that is. And it's going to be that entire journey that you honor so that when you get to the end of the road, whether you've had success or not, you can truly look back on that journey and say, I've done something really remarkable because I stayed true to myself. I honored my gifts and I believed that I was worthy every step of the way.
Scott, I think you're on mute.
So for some reason, we have a tech issue here where I can't see the questions. So if you can see them, let's go through them. Why don't you take the lead on this?
There's a question. How have you dealt with unexpected and serious setbacks?
Mm.
Who wants to take that one, Phil?
Phil, why don't you take that one?
I'll take it. So many setbacks. They always happen. You always get hurt. You always got to overcome your injuries. You have family. You don't sleep at night. You know, you have kids. That's part of the journey. I just say that I've accepted it all. No regrets, a lot of pain, but you know, in doing this and keeping healthy, you can get old like Donna and I. We're in our 80s. That's what I say. Go through it, jump the hurdles, and get on and stay alive.
Oh, that's good.
I just need a follow-up about that because your role is in healing. What would your advice be to people that have just so many, you know, they have back pain, they have diabetes, they have hip replacements. How can you get out of that nightmare hump, Phil?
Well, I feel that every person can heal themselves and they can figure it out. And as soon as you start thinking that somebody's going to help you, you're screwed. You've got to figure it out yourself. And each of us has a brain. We can go to an anatomy book. You go to medical books. I'm a PhD, but I'm a doctor. And all the doctors said, how can you have a PhD in a room with all MDs? And another guy stood up and says, well, what do you do with this disease? And he says, well, I go to the medical books. And he says, well, that's what Dr. Shenik does. He just goes to medical books and figures it out. I think that every person on earth, no matter what their disease, can figure it out if they actually, you know, get on the horse and go in that direction and not think that somebody's going to heal them. But I obviously can heal.
Yeah,
So,
well, I think that speaks to reaching out to doing your homework and reaching out to the people that are experts in finding them. And usually that takes networking. Finding you, for instance, would take networking.
Yeah. Donna, thank you. Would you like to add something to that, Bonnie?
No, I agree. And you know, human beings are tremendously resilient, and I feel appreciate that we can figure out a lot by ourselves. Grief is one of those things. You know, grief is the normal human response to the loss of a loved one, but so often we want to make it clinical. We want to medicate. We want to, you know, numb people's pain. What we found at TAPS is that the most therapeutic thing is being in a community of others who can normalize and validate the experience that we're having. We've also found that with our military veterans, creating that tribe, as Sebastian Younger calls it in his book. But you know, it's an opportunity for us to just know that what we are experiencing is the normal response to a very abnormal event. And that's over 30 years. TAPS now we've done research on, we've published, and hopefully made a little bit of an impact on normalizing and validating this human experience.
Sally has her hand up. Sally?
Sally?
Sorry, Scott, I don't mean to take over, but.
No, that's all right. I can now see the questions.
Okay, good. Okay.
Thank you.
As
Sally.
I've come to understand the human experience and the human condition, it got brought to my awareness through my network. We tend to, when I was in significant pain and hardship and having to overcome some significant adversity, I was focused on mind, body, spirit. And when I got connected to a practitioner who said, but what about your emotions? You haven't felt your emotions since you were 5 years old. And when I was able to tap into my emotions, it first came out a bit like a tsunami, and then I was able to guide it and direct it within my sense of self. And now I can cry appropriately when things hurt my feelings. And as veterans and as athletes, there's time and time again when things hurt us, they hurt our feelings, and we want to cry, and we're told we don't cry, we toughen up, we persevere, we move on. And for us to truly be able to move on and ebb and flow, it's okay for us to cry, it's okay for us to be sad, and it's okay for us to feel our emotions, because that's exactly what makes us human.
Yeah, thank you. So here's a question to the panel. This is not to one person, but what was the easiest and hardest part of your transition into the civilian world? David, would you like to have some comments on that?
Yeah, I was a little bit I won't say luckier. I was in active duty. I was in the Guard, so I was a weekend warrior. So my transition wasn't as tough, so to speak. But I have a lot of friends that were active duty and a lot of colleagues that were active duty. And at Verizon, we employ, oh gosh, it has to be 6,000 or 7,000 veterans today. And the one biggest concern we've seen over the years is they don't think that their skills are transferable into the workforce. And you know, we stop them right there, and because all skills that you've got from the military are 100% transferable in the workforce. So you got to take a moment to think about it. Who is the most trained in the entire world? Who's got the best training in the entire world? You do as a veteran. You understand the mission, you know, you understand what it takes to accomplish goals, you bring passion, you're resilient, you have work ethic, you know how to work in a team. And I can go on and on with these examples here, but I share that point with you all that are listening here is all your skills are transferable. And it could be challenging and overwhelming to transition at first, but know your value. You're the most trained individual that's coming to the table.
I could
Pretty well
say the
said.
same for athletes. It's not the same, but when you start at age 10 or 9 in a way of life where it's all planned and focused and there's a structure, when you leave that structure, you feel like you've been kicked out of the tribe. And when you leave, you have been taught this thing that Sally talked about, you don't show your vulnerability. But you have to recognize that you're frightened, you're scared, that you do, like you said, David, you have all these skills, you've got to recognize them. I help women athletes transition, help them recognize their skills. Companies are looking for people that look at life and their work not as just a 9-to-5 job, but a way of life that they're going to contribute to and bring their skills to. And you have to, you don't isolate yourself. You tend to isolate yourself because you're scared or frightened or you feel inadequate. You got to reach out, and there are just many more places where you can do that.
Yeah. Lewis asked the question, Phil, what would you advise to someone with PTSD, Addison's disease, chronic back pain, diabetes, hip replacement? How can someone get out of this nightmare?
Oh,
Oof.
I thought I already asked the question.
It's the condition, the human condition, right? Well, right now, I have pain in my left arm because I had some basal cell cancer that causes every single day I have pain. But I would say this is that the pain it takes up energy in your brain. So you have to find something else that gives you energy. It could be movement. To me, it's art, it's painting, playing the piano, music, going to the Russian turkey's bath. So you have to find something that counterbalances the pain, because sometimes this pain can be a lifetime thing. And my brother crashed upside down in Vietnam in a helicopter and hurt his neck and his back, and he had all sorts of operations. And finally he says, that's it, too much pain, I'm out of here. And he starved himself to death. So you have to figure out a way to counteract pain. I don't think that we can get rid of it, although that's true. I'm a doctor, and if you come to me, I can get rid of it. But most people don't know somebody like me, or they don't have the skills. But I still think that if you really concentrate on it, and you can figure it out. And Donna talked about having a community and stuff, but I guess I'm sort of a rogue, because I just feel I've never had a coach, never had a doctor, never been operated on. And so I feel that there's another way, which is really figuring it out. I don't know what else to say, but everything is available to us if you just open your mind and figure it out.
Okay, good. Well, I can attest to the fact that Phil is a healer. He has certainly
Me
healed
too.
me and healed our family.
Me too.
Yeah, and Donna and her family as well. Here's a question to Donna. As a champion, both in athletics and in life, you've seen the strength and resilience it takes to overcome setbacks. From your perspective, how can faith or a deeper spiritual commitment play a role in helping veterans and athletes find purpose and healing, particularly after experiencing loss or adversity?
It's really interesting. I mentioned at the top of this discussion that I had volunteered for the USO to go to Vietnam in '69. At that time, you know, I had a boyfriend for the first time, and he signed up to be Marine. He was a radio operator, and you know, the world around us at that time as students was a lot like now. Do you have faith in government? Do we belong in the war? And I was being pulled a lot of different directions, because at that time I was very visible. I was television. I'd been on covers of magazines. I didn't want to get into the politics that I wanted to go see for myself. So I went to Vietnam, and I came back, and I isolated myself for probably 3 months. I got up to 200 and maybe 10 pounds. I couldn't stop eating. I couldn't go out. I couldn't get beyond it. So I thought, okay, let's go back to your roots. Start to walk. Start to reach out. And I got this magical call, and sometimes I wonder about the other world, from Eunice Kennedy Shriver, who had started the Special Olympics. And it was right after Bobby Kennedy had been assassinated. Her third brother lost to violence. And I went to meet with her. I starved myself. I started running. I started doing what I knew to make my body feel good. And here's this woman of deep faith that's giving out to the rest of the world, to the, you know, those that are born with huge challenges, unrecognized young people that are, you know, put away in hospitals and clinics because we didn't understand how capable those with mental challenges can be. And I just decided I'm going to give myself over to this program. And in connecting with a network that was doing good, you know, I got back tenfold. And it taught me, it was a whole path that put me on to helping create the Women's Sports Foundation, to, you know, donate my time to Title IX and education and sport. And so I guess that's a long way of saying, don't isolate yourself, reach out, give back, go back to your roots, what you were taught in the military about fitness and about self-defense. And, you know, I do meditate. I do believe in a higher power. I'm not in a religious group. My husband's Catholic, but you know, I just think there's a spiritual thing out there, and if you do good, good comes back to you.
Yeah. Well, following up on that, Bonnie, your life's work through TAPS has been a lifeline for countless grieving military families. What role do you believe spiritual practices or faith-based community support play in helping individuals and families find peace and healing in the face of loss?
Oh my God. You know, we find that loss shatters the assumptive reality. When someone who is young and healthy and fit and has, joined the military to make a difference in the world, then loses their life, turns everything that we knew to be true upside down. And that shattering of the assumptive reality may include shattering of our spiritual beliefs. Many of our families then find that their faith is strengthened, that they lean on God, that they find renewed comfort and solace in their faith, but some question why God didn't hear their prayers or wasn't there to save their loved one. This is a really tough challenge when today there are, just last year, 3,000 of the family members who came to us were grieving the loss of a loved one to suicide in the military. Tremendously challenging, and that comes with all sorts of what ifs and questions. At TAPS we do a lot on educating around faith-based comfort and support. So it is a very it's a very important part, but a very complicated part of the journey.
Yeah.
Scott, I have
Yes, go ahead, Phil.
Well, to me, the fundamental question in terms of spirituality is space inanimate? Is there life in space around us, in the atmosphere? And as a scientist, I published on it, there is life in space. I do gung fu and sword dancing, and as I do this, the space becomes alive and it looks at me. I can actually see the space, and then I play with it. And as a competitor, I would run the mountains in the middle of the night, and I could see the space, and it gave me great comfort. I think that people can say, well, God, but I just think that there's something out there. It's in space, and it's alive, and we can communicate if we keep our eyes open and don't objectify everything. In other words, when you look, you always look at an object, but look at space itself. It has life. And that's why I'm a great dancer, the space.
Well, I guess that's right. That's very good.
Yeah,
Sally, following up on that, Sally, your life and work embody resilience, especially in helping veterans and athletes navigate challenges. With your faith and values, how do you encourage those you mentor to turn to their faith or their inner beliefs as a source of strength while dealing with PTSD, physical injuries, and the mental rigors of their journeys?
It's important for everyone to know, and it's important for me to share that when I was 5 years old, I got abducted and I got drug into a boiler room and sexually assaulted. And by the time they found me and pulled my body out, they actually only pulled my body. My spirit stayed inside of that boiler room for now 39 years. And it was the healing journey of wrestling where I learned how to fight for myself and make it so that no one ever touched me again. And it was then through the military and joining special operations so that I could be a very brave and courageous human that did the good and necessary work to defend the values that we as Americans hold dear: freedom, democracy, human rights, and under that, gender equality. And as I was transitioning out, I did not believe in God. I did not believe in a higher power. I had questioned everything, and I had entered into what those in the spiritual realm would call a dark night of the soul. Things did not make sense to me, and I didn't understand really what my purpose on this earth was, except for to pave a better pathway so that no one had to endure what I had to endure. And it was through really the therapy. And it was, I was fortunate enough that I got to go to use psychedelic assisted therapy that helped me understand and go back and revisit my trauma in a non-emotional way so that I could have my own hero's journey and come out the other side. That happened because I was surrounded by community of people who truly did love me, that were able to see through when I breathed fire and held my hand despite how terrifying I could be. And they reinforced and reminded me that I was worthy, I was valuable, and I was deserving of love. And I repeated those mantras every day for the last really year and a half. And I am thrilled to share that on October 30th, I was in Mexico and I was able to go into the boiler room and pull Sally out and bring her into the light. And that to me is the day that I have actually been reborn. And that's my alive day. And for so many people, they don't have that good fortune. And to understand childhood abuse and how hard life can be, and to realize that you can actually come out the other side and have a heart that is as big as the universe, it is through understanding that you deserve to you belong here, you deserve to be here. And really, it is leading with love and reminding everyone that you meet that they are a worthy, valuable human being and that you're going to be by their side. But as Phil would say, they had to do the work. No one could have gone back and done that work for me. It was something that I had to believe that I was courageous and worthy of, and that I could live a life without being in fear and being afraid. And it was through my dear friends like Donna who reinforced to me that I deserved to be where I was at, that my voice mattered, and that the work that I was doing mattered. And I continue to open up doors for other people because it doesn't turn pay forward where they matter too.
Wow. Oof. Thank you for sharing that, Sally. That's very, very moving and very important. Brendan, this is from Kelly Pepper. She said, how would you advise someone to self-motivate themselves to get out there and get to the gym or to socialize more?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like my like baseline reaction to these kinds of things is like I always struggle to get out of the door, to like go for a workout, to go socialize. I actually hate, this is like a funny twist of fate, I hate in-person networking events, and our business runs them all the time. We organize conferences, we organize events. We did a happy hour last night in New York City with like 40, 50 people. And I think I'm like a little bit introverted. So this is a question that hits home. I'll tell you how I do it. I don't know if this is like broadly applicable, but I try and solve for like, what is the minimum amount that I can do? Like, I'm not gonna, like, if I'm gonna go for a workout or if I'm gonna go for a run, I'm not gonna go out the door and be like, I'm about to run 10 miles. I'll just put my shoes on and be like, I'm just gonna go out the door with my shoes on, and then I'm just gonna start jogging as slowly as I can. And then sometime in the first couple minutes, it'll start to feel good, and then I'll start to move a little quicker, and then I'll set the goal when I'm still feeling fresh. And I feel like in doing that and solving for those really tiny steps that you can take, and just promising yourself, you know what, maybe I'm not going to go do like a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger level lift today. I'm just going to go warm up, and that'll make me feel limber. It'll make me feel loose. I'll feel good. And then once I warm up, I'm like, you know what, like I should crush some weights here. I should jack some steel. So that's my recommendation for it, especially, you know, when it comes to working out, like just do whatever is the absolute minimum. Promise yourself you're just going to do a tiny bit, and then the rest is going to kind of take care of itself. And then on the social front, I have a couple pieces of advice that might be helpful. I get nervous in like settings where I'm meeting like a lot of people that I don't know. I think that's pretty common. So sometimes I'll try a couple things out. I'll just try and act the way that I like want to be. I've heard this story about Beyonce. She has like this alternate persona who is the person that performs, right? So I couldn't imagine getting on a stage in front of like thousands, tens of thousands of people and having to give them your best effort and be entertaining and all these things. And I don't think that she can picture that either. So she just acts like that person in the moment. And I found that advice to be really helpful. I use that when I'm public speaking. So I'll sort of like fall into character and be like, hey, like be upbeat, be funny, be engaging and energetic. And like that usually will just kind of carry me through it. So I don't know if that makes sense for other people, but hopefully that was helpful, or there's some kind of nuggets of wisdom in that rambling and meandering answer.
No, I think so. I think that's very well said. And there were a number of other questions that are really related to that for you, Brendan. So thank you for addressing that. This is from David Bristol. David Caruth, maybe you can address this thing, this question. David Bristol says, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I run a small construction company, and my hardest thing is finding employees. A lot of people work until they get a paycheck and then they leave or don't return the next year. I'm looking to fill 3 spots for the spring. Do you have any recommendations on hiring or finding local veterans to work?"
Yeah,
And I
there's
think also in holding on to them. Yeah.
Yeah, hiring our heroes. That's an agency we've worked with in the past here at Verizon. There's more out there. They're like that. And there's ones local to your area. I'm sure you can find online, but they're the one that first comes to mind. And what we found working with agencies like those or doing recruiting ourselves for military, we go to job fairs and we'll set up tents and tables at job fairs, recruiting specifically for military because they are loyal. We actually have over indexing in veteran employment, how long their longevity is with us versus a non-veteran. So if you're looking for someone that's going to stay a long time, you definitely want to look into that veteran space. And then for all the other reasons I mentioned earlier with all their skills and qualifications. But it's a very good question. Hopefully that gives you enough of an answer there.
Yeah. Let's see, Bonnie, what can you share concerning an event, experience, or the challenges that have shaped your future world view in moving toward?
Well, we track the trends that we see in our military surviving families over the past year. We actually have had a little over 10,000 new surviving family members, primarily experiencing a loss to suicide or illness as a result of exposures. So what we're doing, though, is taking the insights that we're gaining from the families following those particular losses and being able now to inform suicide prevention efforts. We went back to the Defense Department now nearly 20 years ago when we started seeing the trends in cancer deaths, rare environmental, not genetic cancers. And that has led to the signing of the PACT Act, which is opening up 42 new presumptions. So taking what we're learning and now using it to educate the future, very sadly, we are seeing those increases and they are on the rise at a time when people think there are no losses in the military. We're actually losing a higher number due to 20 years of deployments.
Wow. Here's a question for Donna. How did you feel mentally as a 13-year-old on the relay team in Rome? Did your mother have to travel to Rome due to your young age? Well, I know the answer to that, but anyway, go ahead. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
My parents lived hand to mouth and they didn't have the money to travel with me this summer that I broke my first world record and then made the Olympic team. The rules were different then. Luckily, those around me kept me safe. Although my former coach during the Olympic trials accused me of taking drugs because I was better than his daughter. And pep pills, I didn't even know what they were, and he would harass me. And of course, there were no protections around that then. It was kind of an informal, organic thing where the coach that did let me join his team made sure that I was safe. I think maybe that help inform me and motivate me to work really hard within the Olympic movement to provide protections. And unfortunately, with our gymnasts and all that, we didn't have that in place. Going to the Olympics at 13, you're just full of wonder. You're on your way up the ladder and you just see the goals ahead of you. I think the next 4 years were tougher because I was a world record holder at 13 and I had to defend my titles for 4 more years. So that took a different kind of understanding of competition. But it would have been really nice to have my parents there, but and we didn't have live television, so they couldn't watch me. When I made the team, I called them and I said, guess what? I'm coming home. And there was this big sad sigh. And I said, in a month, because I'm going to Rome. But, and then the Rome experience was magical. On the team with Muhammad Ali and Wilma Rudolph, and a women's team that started America's Women's Gold Rush in swimming. A great basketball team with Walt Bellamy and that crew. It was the games of the Cold War, so we were able to trade pins with the Soviet athletes, but they couldn't stay in the village. And there was a lot of undercurrents that, of course, as a naive 13-year-old, I didn't see. But it was wonderful to be part of a hopeful world where people can gather from all around the world, and the common language is sport. And there's so much mutual respect because you understand each other and what it takes to get there.
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Hello to all. Dr. Phil, we get a number of questions on this, but do you have any resources to help push past the pain? I'm a disabled vet and just retired. I have a LOD, and many surgeries later. Age is getting to me. LOL.
Oh, boy. Well, I can't talk like Donna and a lot of people who, you know, have a community to help them. But I can say this, that because I had these difficulties and pain, and I counted 27 injuries, 4 brain concussions, everything, broken wrist, 2 broken wrists, broken pulled hamstrings, arthritis in the hips. But in having these, I knew that I had to figure it out or I couldn't go on. And if I went to a doctor, I got injected and I got worse. So I just went to medical books, anatomy books, and it's all there in the library. And so I spent a lot of time figuring it out. And guess what? I then became a doctor. As I told you before, somebody said, well, how can Dr. Schenck be in this room? He's a PhD, he's not an MD. And the guy stood up and said, all the information is available to get out of it. So you do have to be sort of a student. If you get injured, you gotta figure it out, go to the books, it's all there. But I would say that breathing, alternate nostril breathing, belly breathing is very important. Movement, and also sitting like Zazen meditation, calming your mind down. When your mind calms down, the pain seems to decrease. So it is a mind-body thing. But I feel that pain is a good impetus to move yourself to a higher level and not be stuck in the pain.
Well, also getting in the water where you're weightless, Phil, you know, you swim.
Exactly.
It just, you know, you don't have to do laps. You just get in and slowly start to move. And you know, you're nurtured in the water. So it's a great healing.
Walking, moving, cycling.
And we oftentimes can create these great lists of everything we can't do, but we also have an opportunity to create a list of the things that we can do. And maybe there's only walking, and maybe there's only getting in the water, but you can slowly start to make that list longer with the effort to grow it out so that you know that you have more opportunities available.
I just wanted to plug a couple books real quick. There's 2 books that I really love to recommend for veterans. One is The Body Keeps the Score. It's about the connection between mind and body. It was written by a guy who was a psychiatrist. He worked for 20 years at the Boston VA after Vietnam and conducted really extensive research on the connection between the mind and the body. Western medicine treats these as separate things, right? There's like mental health and there's physical health, and you're treating like acute things. I mean, you've got an ache or a pain. Like when I had back injury, when I had back problems, they checked out my back. They were like, what can we figure out that's wrong with your back? You couldn't figure it out. And a lot of it turned out to be mental. And so The Body Keeps the Score, I think, is a fascinating read. If you're a Marine who struggles with reading like me, or maybe you're munching on too many crayons for our birthday, you can check out, they have it on Audible, but you can also, the quick takeaway is like, do some yoga, mindfulness, breathing, and deliberate movement, really, really helpful. The second book I'd recommend is called Becoming a Supple Leopard. I don't know if any of the panelists have read that book. It's by Dr. Kelly Starrett. It's just about it's basically how to move, how to sit, how to stand. That book saved my back. I mean, it just got me from a place of being in tremendous physical pain every day to being able to do most things pretty well. So The Body Keeps the Score and Becoming a Supple Leopard, those books are amazing.
Good. Thank you. Has any speaker used labyrinths for waking meditations to activate more physical fitness and inner peace?
We do use those, Scott. It's an empowerment program. Absolutely.
Have you found it to be helpful?
Tremendously helpful. Yes, very centering and healing.
Okay, good.
Could you explain what that is in detail?
You know, I don't lead our women's empowerment program,
Yeah.
but from what I've seen, it is a guided meditation and then walking to find a center. We actually created a labyrinth when I took surviving American families of loss in Iraq during the Iraq War back to Iraq. And with Iraqi widows, we constructed a labyrinth with stones, and they went together through that process. And it was incredibly it was so peaceful and centering, and this beautiful opportunity to come together. So I'm not the expert on the science behind it, but from what I have witnessed and what I have seen in our programs, it's been tremendously impactful.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, as we wrap up the Q&A now, I want to thank the panelists and thank the audience for the questions. I think this has been very, very productive. And in making this possible, I want to give special thanks to our lead sponsor, Avis Budget, and for the talented team there led by Senior VP Stephen Wright, a wonderful guy. And for many years, Avis Budget has advocated for veterans and has partnered with WeSalute to offer exclusive savings and to honor them for their service. Joining us again as a sponsor is 1-800-Flowers and its family of brands. Jim McCann, who's the chairman and founder, makes sure that our WeSalute Plus members receive 30% off their flower orders. This is the very same discount they offer their own employees. And 1-800-Flowers has also teamed up with WeSalute to send letters to veterans to thank them for their service on Veterans Day. We also want to thank IMAX and their CEO, Rich Gelfond, who's donating hundreds of tickets to an IMAX movie, 2 each for many of those who are attending today, and to Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, honoring WeSalute Plus members with deep discounts on rooms, and it's more than 9,000 properties worldwide. Today, we're awarding 120,000 Wyndham points, good for a week's stay at one of their exceptional properties worldwide. And to Brookdale Senior Living, that offers WeSalute Plus members deep benefits and discounts at over 650 communities across 42 states. We're deeply honored to have these sponsors who honor you. So on behalf of Avis Budget, 25 of you will be attending our event today. Will receive a free 1-year subscription membership to WeSalute Plus, or a 1-year added to your current membership. It's worth $120. All of this is to honor your service. I also want to mention that our WeSalute Plus members will also be getting a real thank you for Veterans Day from our partner, Wendy's. So make sure you go to Wendy's before 10:30 on Veterans Day. Show your WeSalute Plus card for a free Veterans Day breakfast combo. So before we announce our winners, I wanted to let you know about some important initiatives at WeSalute. We just launched WeSalute gear, like the shirts the panelists are wearing, which are great. We also have some wonderful hats there with the branch of service on them and other clothing at very affordable prices. So go to Wear WeSalute on wesalute.com to check it all out. We're also running a 3-year sale this month with 75% off WeSalute Plus. It's a great opportunity to lock in your benefits for 3 years at an incredibly low price. And you'll be getting an email on this sale shortly. And I think that's it for announcements. Now to the winners of our giveaways. We've employed a random selection system to choose the winners. And I'd like to announce them now. And Rebecca, maybe you could text me the winner of the 120,000 Wyndham points. And I'm going to look at my text to see whether And I have not received that. So if you're, oh, I just did. And the winner of that is Tammy Nelson. So Tammy, if you're there, I think the staff can unmute you and you could say a few words. Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh my, so excited.
Oh, that's great. Tammy, what branch of service were you in?
I was in the Army, United States Army. I did 18 years National Guard, 10 years active duty.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, thank you for your service.
You're
Hope you'll have a lot of resorts to choose from for your week.
Oh yeah.
But congratulations.
Thank you.
That's really great. Now to the winner of the 1 week rental from Avis Budget. And that is Donald Morgan. Donald.
That's a blessing. Thank you.
You're welcome. And what branch of service were you in, Donald?
29 in the Navy and 14 with the U.S. Department of State. So I call it 44.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you for your service. Where are you hailing from these days?
I'm actually in St. Petersburg, Florida, but I'm headed to UK today to join my wife. So I would ask that, can you post Brendan the books that he recommended?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You will.
Have a great day, people. Enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. And congratulations. Have a good, safe trip.
Thank you.
I want to thank each of the panelists for finding the time to be with us today for this Heroes Meet Heroes events. And thanks to all of you in the audience for your service and your support of We Salute. Happy Veterans Day. Stay safe and see you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.